It is 6 o'clock. I will call this meeting of the Juneau Utility Commission order. Roll has been taken. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
I will approve the agenda with the following change, that we have Matt Castile and Greg Gunderson to present before Brittany and to discuss and updates and take action on the sensing contract after that.
Is there a second? All right, we have a motion by Cheryl, second by Ross to switch Matt Castile and Greg Gunderson of MSA to before Brittany Mitchell of MSA. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Approve the minutes of the previous meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ross, second by Cheryl to approve the minutes of the previous meetings. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is carried. Public appearances. Matt?
Yep, so we had the public hearing at the community center at 5 o'clock. Nobody showed up, so we waited until 5:15 and then called it. So there is a fact sheet that we had available, and we'll keep copies here in case anybody else comes in. And what we discussed, and if you guys are okay with it, is we'll use that fact sheet and put it on the website or put a blurb in the bill stuffer or something to have an extra effort to let the public know about the facilities plan.
I have to admit, I forgot about it.
So I'll put in the facility plan that nobody attended, and I'll also add that the bill stuffer will be available, but that'll be put into the facilities plan, and then I plan on wrapping that up and submitting that to the DNR by the end of this year. So, and I'll get a final copy over to Peter, we'll review it together, and then we can send out final copies to you guys, and I can send that into the DNR. The DNR typically takes, I think technically they have 90 days to review it, and they normally have a couple questions, and I'll work directly with them to work towards approval.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Matt? Okay. Thank you. Brittany Mitchell.
Yep, the other one that we moved up Mac was number 3, to discuss updates and take action as needed on the sensing contract.
Okay. I stand corrected.
That's the only other one.
So in your packets, there was an email that Tom had sent that he asked that we forwarded on to you from his last discussion with Jim, I think it was. And when I talked to Dan about the agenda, he just asked that we had on here about the sensing contract, just in case there was something that occurred between then and now that we needed to address.
Matt, can you tell us, as far as that conversation, the things in this contract, what changed from that conversation? Anything in this contract that changed from your last contact or conversation with Jim Vermillion?
What did they change, Peter? They updated the, I believe there aren't X's anymore on the surges, so that was one update. And then he also changed the
there was some language at the bottom of Exhibit A. The parties understand that these thresholds are to provide customer clarity to ensure that disconnection will never occur so long as ADLs are maintained under these criteria, so long as force majeure events do not occur. That was Sentient's biggest thing, was they were always worried about us shutting them off, and so now there's just no way we're gonna shut them off unless there's something huge, major that would happen, so.
They updated the ADLs as
Yes.
well, right?
In the exhibit C, under the total phosphorus, it was 5 to 10 milligrams per liter, but we kinda came to the conclusion that 5 is kind of a really low number, so if they got like a 5.1, they'd be incurring a $500 a day occurrence, so we moved that up to 7, so it's 7 to 10.
And that still works within the limits
Yes.
of our plant of what
Yep.
we need.
So otherwise, everything else stayed the same. They put in the dollar amounts for the surge payments on the bottom.
So next step, it sounds like Tom is gonna meet with Jim, and during our phone call, he said that it was a positive phone call, so I guess we'll learn more after their meeting, if it's signed or if there's some negotiation.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or concerns? If not, we will move on to Brittany.
Hello, Brittany.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Matt.
guys.
Thanks, Matt.
Off to the kids.
Well, you could, Christmas shopping is.
MSA, this is Brittany.
Hi, Brittany, it's Lori from Juneau Utility.
Hey, how are ya?
Good, how are you?
Good.
All right, we're ready for you in our part of the meeting.
All right.
So what we had Brittany calling in for is to discuss the lead lateral grant program for next year and some, kind of just a outline of how that is gonna work with, getting, contractors and stuff, I think, right?
Yeah, yep, so I'll just kind of start off, last year you guys were awarded the grant and closed the grant, so we did a lot of the work this year, so we won't have to do a bunch of it next year, but, the application was put into place for the homeowners and for the contractors, and the application for reimbursement was also put into place, and you guys can change how you do it from year to year if you choose, but currently your guys' program is that you'll pay 100% of the cost for the replacement. So up to whatever amount the replacement is, the city will pay that, which is covered by 100% of the grant. We also did the RFQ last year to put out for contractors. We will need to do that again, but it just needs to go in the mail. So if you have preferred contractors that you'd like to apply, just say, hey, just so you know, we're running, just maybe give them a heads up that the RFQ is going to go in the mail, and they can submit again to be one of the preferred contractors, and then you guys are kind of working with who you'd like to work with. The next round application date is due January 17th. I have most everything put together so far. I just got a couple things that I have questions on, but we'll get figured out hopefully this week here. But I guess I wanted to hear if you guys had any questions on the program. It is only for the private side lead, as you guys know. So if the public side is not done, the public side would need to be done at the same time. So if you have street projects going on, that's a good time to get the homeowner side if you guys are doing your public side at the same time. And keep costs down a little bit.
Does it,
Did you guys have any questions for me that I can help answer?
Does it have any, is there any benefit to having the contractor that's doing the public street project also do the private homes, or?
You could do that, so if that's the case, when you're doing it, when you're bidding the street, we would have to put that in the bid. And if you do that, then Davis-Bacon would occur. Otherwise, Davis-Bacon does not occur unless the private side that you're doing is owned by a business or an LLC. But if you do bid the project out with a street project, it's certainly something you can do, but then Davis-Bacon would have to be done on whatever work they do on the private side.
And then I think the other thing we discussed was if we chose to have just one preferred contractor, that's not a problem.
Nope, it's not a problem. The homeowners would have to, you know, it is technically their property, you know, so they'll have to be okay with that. But if you give them one choice, then that's who they choose. A lot of communities that are doing it, otherwise they give them more choices, so they would have to pick the low bidder.
Okay.
But if you guys are comfortable with the contractor, and that's certainly your guys' call if you want to do it that way.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions?
When do they have to apply? The next round is January 17th, is that what I heard?
January 18th, yep.
18th.
What is the limit of funding that we're going to be able to occur here?
I heard a little bit of that. What's the limit of funding? Is that the
Yeah.
question?
If it, yeah, was,
So on the application, that's one of the questions that I had that I'm going to talk to you guys about later this week. But one of the questions on the application is how many lines do you think you can get in one construction period? Because that is one thing with this grant is because you're currently in it now. Any money that isn't requested by December 10th gets put back into the pot for next year. So this is only for one year cycle. So this year will be the same where you'll get the grant. They'll probably award it around February or March, and you have to use it by December. If you don't use it by December, it goes back into the pot for next year. So we'll request how many lines you guys think that you will be able to replace this construction period. So that is a question that I had for you guys of how many you think you'll be able to get to this year. And then we'll take that amount times the average that we've gotten in so far, and that's the amount that we'll request.
okay.
So there's no limit, you can only request so much, but if you don't use it in one construction period, it gets put back in, and then you can apply for it again the following year as long as there's funds available.
But this deadline for this year, the work actually had to be done, not just an accepted contract.
Right.
Correct, yep. And, I mean, there seems to be a lot of money coming down the stream for lead, so I would guess the program will be available for a couple more years yet. But there's obviously the Madisons and Milwaukee's that because there's no limit, they're taking a huge chunk of the money, so trying to get our clients to get it done as soon as possible just so that money doesn't run out.
How many laterals do we have on this project is to be replaced?
We are right now trying to determine how many we have. We have to figure out how many laterals we have by the end of this year, and then they all have to be replaced by the end of 2022.
Okay.
So we're canvassing right now the rest of the ones that we don't know off of the spreadsheet that we have.
How many of them are in our current construction project site?
That's what we're still trying to figure out.
I bet you there's probably 14, 12. I think we found 7 on East Oak, and there's probably, well, we found 1 for sure doing the project, because no one answered the door on Highland Street when I went door to door when I did that. But on East Oak, we got in probably 3/4 of them. We found, I believe it was 7. So I would estimate we for sure got 12 to 14.
And they could all be done within this next project year.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
That's just East Oak from Highland out. huh?
Correct, yeah.
Or to the east end.
But if we expand that project from Highland to the west, we know we've got some
That's what I
along
mean.
there.
But who knows if we find more that are just stubbed into the house that are copper. I mean, that's what we're verifying, you know?
Yeah, that's-
Yeah, you won't know that until the stop box is dug up and you actually
Right.
do a visual on which side of the, we're confident that most of that on Oak Street is led from the public sector to the private sector, but, you know, so much of that'll be build as you go. But I think we're foolish not to get his count and apply for their funding for every one of them. If we don't use it, like they said, it'll roll into the pot for the following year. But we certainly don't want to be able to give funding to some people and then the following year deny it to others, so. I mean, all the ones I've talked to, I said, it's limited funding, you know, it runs out. But like I said, I think we should do everything on the city's behalf to assure that we've got funding to be able to.
And I think from just doing locates, there's been quite a bit that had been done just in the last month. So, I wanna say there were at least, it's probably what, 12?
Last month?
Within a month and a half.
6 or 8 maybe.
Yeah. So, I would see a issue getting a large amount done in a year.
So what's the number that we need to give to Brittany, I guess is the question, because she's looking for a number, correct, Brittany?
Yeah, and you guys can think about it, you don't have to give it to me right now if you don't have it. But
Okay.
yeah, and it's just a guesstimate of what you guys think you'll replace this year.
Okay,
We wanna aim high, and
okay,
if you don't use it all, it goes back, but we'd rather aim high and have extra money and have to give it
What's the
back than
spreadsheet show
not have
right
enough
now?
money.
160.
Yeah, we don't have to
Cover
think
that.
aim a little higher than we'll probably, than you might think that you guys can replace, just so we have enough money to.
There was a
To get through
there
this
was a
year.
160
Sure.
figure thrown around at one
Yeah.
time.
Could be 160.
I think it's safe to say it's over 150 at least.
Okay.
We can make sure we get
And
back
now
to
that you
you.
guys have the ordinance in place and everything, things will run a lot smoother and quicker, the fact that you guys have that in place now, so.
okay.
All right.
Do you guys have any other questions about the program or anything that I can help answer?
Everybody's good? Okay. Thank you, Brittany.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you, I'll get the application finalized and sent over to you guys for review, and then we'll get it in and get you on the list.
All right, thank you, appreciate your help.
Yeah, absolutely, thanks guys,
Have a good night.
you too.
All right. Monthly business. Approve the vouchers and the checks.
So move.
Motion by oh, I'm moving too fast for you?
I was moving the phone.
Brown and Coons.
Okay.
Have a motion by Cheryl, second by Bart, to approve the vouchers and the checks. Is there any questions? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Prior month income statement. Anybody have any questions or?
See, there's a negative balance in electric. We do have 1,000 kV transformer that came out, automated Hector's paying for that once that job gets paid out for. So really, we do have a positive balance. It's just, there's a lot of large expenses that were taking place since that month, October.
Okay. Somebody have any other Anything on that? Council acts affecting utility.
It's not in order.
No, it's not.
I just realized that, I'm sorry. I had them in order when I scanned them to everybody, and I made copies right away, and apparently,
Toward the front of it, before that.
It's all good.
All right, ordinance 266, 2021. Ordinance to amend City of Juneau amount of sewer service charges. And resolution 57, 2021, approve sewer rates.
on the ordinance, what they, Sean decided to do is instead of having to do a new amendment to the ordinance, every time we make any changes to the sewer rates, they changed it from the verbiage of having monthly service charges detailed to just that we can raise charges when we need to, and so it's more of just a general paragraph. It's not detailed anymore. And then they do the resolution for the actual rate amounts.
Okay. Consumption and loss. Now we're back in Disney order.
I'm so sorry. I'll blame it on my cold last week. Brain fog.
It's all good. Okay, now that I've caught up, Nick, the other reason that you had a negative balance is because you're paying for, the purchase power. Is for the month before, and it was a lot higher than what our income is. Yeah, because it's like a month and whatever behind.
All right, anybody have any questions on consumption and loss?
Well, the fire department, don't you get a report from the fire department, they use water, so they didn't use it? Don't they keep a record down there, Danny?
Yeah, they do. They do.
All right, yeah. Delinquent customers. Yeah,
Going up.
that goes up until April 15th.
Yeah.
All right, is there anybody have anything after that? Reports of officials. Utility accountant.
Okay. So last month we were doing the community contributions, and we weren't sure if the shop with cops is going on. So we did tentatively put aside the $700 to go towards that program. And we do have the, because they're doing that on, I believe, the 11th or the 12th of December. I went ahead because we had talked about wanting to do that, and I found out that the program was going, so I had Sean do a check for that, but they're holding on to it until if it gets approved tonight or not. So we just need to approve that, yes, we do want to have the $700 go to the Shop with Cops under the community contributions that we had discussed
That's
in
the
the
same
prior.
amount we got last year, too.
Yeah.
All right.
So move we get $700.
All right. Motion by Ross, second by Dick to $700 for Shop with Cops. Is there any discussion? If not, right ahead.
I was just gonna say, I personally have shopped with these kids. There's never enough cops to go around, so they usually solicit fire officers from the immediate area and whatever, so I've done this several years, and it is very gratifying. There are a lot of families out there that face a lot of hardship during the holiday, and it's just one way to ease their burden a little bit, so I think it's a worthwhile program.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried.
We also had talked about, the new sewer rates, we've got that all set up for it was effective November 1st. So it is gonna be coming out on our next bill that goes out tomorrow. We got the preliminary bills through the email for approval today, and the charges are all accurate on there, so, all the rates carried forward to the billing system. Felt good. It's the first time I did that, so I was happy. And then I also updated the rates on our website so that everything's current. We did the sensing contract, and then the lateral replacement. I didn't know if there was anything that we needed to discuss or take action on for that with what we discussed with Brittany. So I just put that as an item.
Sounds good. Anybody have any questions for Lori?
I guess just on that water replacement contract, our plan right now, if it goes through, if the bidding comes out well, we won't be going beyond Fair Street with any main reconstruction or anything like that. But there is a known fact to myself and a couple of water department employees here that we do have some lead services along the main drag west of Fair Street. So I don't know how you're gonna handle that. Those would be some extensive replacements because there's all concrete in front of all them places, so. I think we gotta keep at least 2 or 3 contractors on notice, and I think there should be some kind of competitive level here that we're not overpaying for these
Right.
services neither.
Yeah, the reason that we suggested, and Kylie and I were talking about it, was suggesting one preferred contractor is we found that trying to deal with the 2 or 3 different ones at a time, there was one, PHE has been really good at communicating and very efficient at they give us the quote along with the customer, and then they're really on top of making sure, yes, we do still have the funds and everything else. We had another contractor that didn't even let us know they're digging. They went and they started digging. They said they couldn't tell if it was a lead or copper or what it was, so they dug through and had to dig into the house or the wall or whatever. And then found out that it's all copper. So, it's kind of one of those, if we have this really good contractor that communicates really well and knows what they're doing compared to just having them call anybody, that was what prompted that whole conversation. But, we can certainly still have it go out.
Oh, absolutely.
Quotes and
I mean,
whatever.
this time of year was limited for anybody
Yeah.
that had work on their plate already to even think about doing these.
Right.
Anything else for Lori? If not, thank you.
You're welcome.
Electric superintendent, Nick.
Automated pet care service is energized. We got the call from the inspector. Everything was good. So we energized it, verified a voltage once again, and meters installed, and they're being billed now for their usage. I mean, it's very limited usage right now, but they basically get just some heaters going for the contractors working in there right now. So that was one good thing to get it off the list of things to do for the year. The Christmas outlets on West Oak Grove have been installed. I'm sure you guys saw the Christmas lights up. DPW put those up right after we got those installed. We also had to I didn't know how many outlets this guy had purchased, and I believe there was 17. The last 3 poles going on a West Oak Road don't have streetlight wire going across that road, those poles. We actually had to string 3 spans of wire to feed those, so that was billed to the city for that as well. But we also did give them money from our contributions for that, so that's a piece of the burden. It wasn't an excess amount of money for that, but that was done. Sorry. New water lateral here at the utility office was converted over from lead to copper. PHE was contractors. The gas main was mislocated and was hit. Vanguard locates the gas, so that would be on them and not the contractors. So it wasn't punctured, it was just hit enough where they call Line Energy to have it checked in. Okay, cool. Cooks are finished with South Island. That's completed. We started doing terminations, and it's not going well with wire being so cold. So I don't think we're going to have these services done this year. I think the services are going to be a spring completion. But we're going to still keep picking away at it and do what we can. There was 4 main upgrades, service main upgrades, and 2 new services to install on South Main Street. If you guys take South Main Street out, there's 2 houses under construction right now. Next week we'll be putting those services in. That's all I got. I'm gonna get drink water.
Well, he's gone. Do anybody have any questions when he comes back? Rehearse them. Otherwise, we can move on. All right, we'll move on. Peter.
Okay, so because of the budget, we were able to replace our old John Deere lawnmower. So we're looking at selling that. Just wondering how we should go about that. There's somebody that's interested in it, depending on if the price is right. So wondering what we want to ask for it, or how we go about that.
That's the whole one with the cab on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The main cab?
Yeah.
Deck on the front of it, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's got a deck on it.
seen better days.
Well, I don't doubt that, but I mean, it's complete, and it must work. I mean, at least the bore works.
It works, yeah.
It's useful.
Oh, I don't even know how old it is.
I would just look up comparable prices on Craigslist or whatever.
Go to Tractor House, you look on Tractor House. It gives you an idea of what stuff a dealer is selling. I mean, you're not gonna get what the dealer's selling.
What series tractor is it? Series, is it 318,
I don't know what it was.
316, 420?
Is it a tractor, or is it, it's
No,
a
it's
front
a-
mount, it's a front mount mower deck,
It's a
right?
mower, zero turn
Yeah.
mower.
Oh, it's okay.
So,
But that's-
so
It's
it's
got like
just,
snow blower in it?
It's an
It's got
old,
a
We put the snowblower
it's
down,
just
but then
like
we bought
the
that one
city's.
back.
so it's
That's
got,
John Deere, but
I'm assuming it has
But
an
that's
F,
30,
starts
40 years
with an
old.
F and then.
Nine something.
What?
Nine something.
Okay, yeah.
72 or something like that.
That's a,
It's like I think it was a 1978 model, or
That
it's
sounds-
old.
yeah,
I know.
but they still get
Well, that
Wouldn't
John
have
Deere
been-
couldn't be 78.
No, it couldn't have been a 70,
The
that's right.
plant is an 83 and newer, so, you know, that.
It's
But it was shortly after we got the plant, they bought that for.
It's an 84 though.
I would look up a price and then bring it back to here and just say, discuss an approved sale
yeah.
of that
But
for the
Tractor,
snow.
Tractor House is a good place to look.
Well, the screen in yellow is worth $1,000 right there.
And it's probably worth $2,000 for the screen and
That's right.
yellow.
Just ask the people that build it.
Alright, so it's, we had American Leak Detection come in and they, went through the whole city and they only found 2 places, they only found 2 leaks. One was the intersection of North Fairfield and Victory, that new construction that was done, 2 years ago, the sewer. And then the other one is the service valve for the county building coming off of South Main there. So, I don't know if we're gonna be able to do any work this year, replacing, because they're telling me that it's leaking on the valve. So, I don't know if we're gonna be digging those up this year, probably wanna wait till next spring.
That's all they found.
Yeah.
Are they serious leaks? Are they talking about serious?
He said they're pretty loud, so.
We've been using Town and Country for digging those.
No, recheck.
Recheck, yeah.
I would ask him soon, before the ground gets hard. He may be interested in taking care of it before the frost goes down.
Yeah, because there's not much frost in it at all. There's maybe 2 inches of
But
frost.
if you keep, every week you wait,
Yeah.
you know, that's gonna be,
Where were they again?
Well, the intersection of Victory and North Fairfield, that was all redone, so.
that's a main leak?
Yeah.
And that's where there's already a Band-Aid there, because it leaked as soon as they fixed it, a rock.
Well, that should be a warranty project there.
Because that was where a main break was when they fixed that right away. They had to come back that same day. They had it all gravelled over. They were way down and it started bubbling up through the gravel, and they fixed that once already. Because there was a big boulder that was underneath it, that rolled out from underneath it, and then it caved and.
I guess I would recommend you call MSA and have MSA contact a contractor about that.
Okay.
What was that again? That was,
Polish name,
Paczynski. Paczynski,
No.
wasn't it?
No, Wolinski.
Wolinski.
yeah. Out of-
Wolinski.
Yeah. The other one was Clearview, you said?
No, the county building, yeah.
There's
Their
a-
service valve, so.
On
There's a valve in
26.
the, yeah, there's a valve in the street and then there's another one in the terrace and it's leaking in the one in the terrace, so that would involve shutting down that whole street. So,
I know, it's been done before.
yeah.
Better we can charge you for the lot.
You're talking between Center and Oak.
Yes.
We don't have any other users on there. The jail, or the old jail feeds off the backside on West Street, I believe.
Just that,
I think there's another service that goes into that one
side of the-
fourteen.
that title place?
Yeah, the title place and then the building that's next to it. There's a service line going into there too.
Yeah, there could be, yeah.
So-
Meters there.
All right.
And then, I just wanna add with the leaks, we did find a leak on Highland Street when Cooks were digging the live side or line side of the curb stop broke, and then Alex, we ended up
Yeah.
digging it up, Cooks dug it out for us, and Alex fixed it up so it's not leaking, so we ended up actually taking the valve out because it wasn't, it's getting done next year. We didn't have a replacement valve for it at that time, so there was another leak. Cooks didn't hit it, they ended up just kind of taking about a foot of dirt off the top and water started coming up out of the ground, so that was another one that was leaking for a long time, so who knows if we find more of those ones, which I'm surprised they didn't hear. But that was also a slow leak that just kept leaking for a long time, and
Okay.
They should detect it, right? They should be able to detect.
I would
detect
think
the
so,
hole
right?
I don't
because,
think they go on all the curb stops, so I think they just triangulate the valve boxes and then they just get the area, yeah. And they isolate the area, so. And then it was 2 weeks ago on it was the weekend of Thanksgiving, Sunday. I was working and I came in and I noticed on the SCADA that lift 2 hadn't run since Saturday around noon, and so I ran up to lift 2 and popped the cover, and it was within about a foot or 2 of the red line that's inside of the wet well. So I started the I started the pumps to get it going, and it took off after that, and it was fine after that. But Monday we went over and looked at it, Alex and I, and discovered that there's a 2-channel relay under that failed. One channel is for the floats in the wet well, and the other one's for the pot itself. And so we found one that was inside of the cabinet and replaced it, and it turned out that it was the wrong one. It was, instead of a 120, it was a 24 volt. They look exactly the same. So we called Dan, and he came out and looked, and it's like, oh, it's a 24 volt. So yeah. So we ended up putting the other one back in because one of the channels was still good. We just kind of monitored, checked it out and everything like that, and then we ended up ordering 2 single channel switches, and then Alex wired them up, and it works fine. So that part that we would have tried to order was obsolete anyways. They only had one in the country, and it was used, and so it would have been a good thing to do. So we just basically, made it work. So
I wanna send that 24 volt one back to him, it was warranted. It's defective out of the box.
yeah. So that's all I have.
All right.
Station 1 has the exact same
Anybody
one,
have any questions for
but that's
Peter?
24 volts, that's what it was for.
If not, we can move on.
I guess the question though that Peter had is where we're at on upgrading that lift. And I says, I thought we gave him the green light to pursue options and get going with that. And then I talked to Nick about voltages up there. And now that 3-phase tub in front of Staggers there, that's a 230 volt?
120, 240 volt 3-phase, no wild egg.
No wild egg. Because after I got off the phone with Alex, when he called me back, wanted to know the difference, and I said, well, yeah, 230, 208, they probably all gonna run the same, but yeah, and then I started thinking about, well, how did they wind up with a 3-phase 240 volt without a wild leg on it, so.
Yeah, the wiring diagram on the second here said the nameplate shows no wild leg, it's just straight 120, 240. Basically like a 277 480, but.
Well, bottom line, that'll work out perfectly.
That'll work
out perfectly for running that lift now and not going with a freak drive or anything else, because they've got 3-phase power 35 feet from the control center. And, it's just a matter of using what we got up there, and they seem to prefer 3-phase for these pumps versus the single phase like we're running on right now. We just have to upgrade the service entrance and get a new generator hookup for them up there. So.
Yeah, because we'll have to have a pedestal for that, and then a new panel. Everything will be new for that then too, and a generator hookup.
But I thought we were at the position where we all agreed we should do something up there, as long as the discharge piping is able to be reused without tearing up 26.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you get a pump with better head pressure, and you ought to be able to overcome that distance over the knoll and where you get into the gravity flow again. So from what I talked to you on the phone, it sounds like you're plowing ahead at least, right? Or you've got the options, or you got something picked out that's gonna work.
Ahead.
Email them.
Yeah.
All right.
So is the availability for the other equipment, is there a problem with that, getting the other stuff for it?
Well, that'll be electric contractor of your choice for doing that. That'll probably be all within that same
Okay.
contract there. You guys have been emailing. They'll do all that.
Okay.
Or
Didn't know if
subcontract it out.
you guys had it or anything.
No, we'll just, usually the pedestals are for us and the equipment, we just install the services and do our line side connections to your guys' equipment.
Okay. Anything else? I read over the stuff from WPPI about their budget, and everything looks good at WPPI, so that's good.
There are more
They're more
rates-
expensive. The
rate
rates went
changes again.
because of, how did they phrase that yet?
So basically a downstream effect of everything.
Gas prices went up, so their cost for electricity went up. So I guess we all live with that. So, and they have the meeting is on, the board meeting is 16?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's
16.
Thursday.
That's a Thursday, yeah, 16th. So that's all I have. Mr. Mayor?
I have nothing in mind, I'm just glad to see that we're getting closer on the Sensian contract and making that a reality, and wish everybody happy holidays.
All right. Is there any old business? Is there any new business?
I move to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn. Second by Dick. Cheryl made the motion to adjourn, second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is carried.